Look, one absolutely key area, in my view, for giving young people, positive outlets for energies that might otherwise go in worrying or dangerous directions is sport. And this also has a lot of relevance to the issue of women and challenging all of that misogyny that it can be around there, because one of the positive developments we've seen in the last few years is the tremendous growth in participation in sport in general by young people, but in particular by women. Absolutely enormous and very, very positive. In boxing, in soccer, in Gaelic, in rugby, in all sorts of sports, right? But there is a chronic deficit of facilities and pitches for this huge growth in participation in sports. Now, I can speak to my area, but I hear much is the same everywhere else. Positive example, but after a 20-year-long fight, Monkstown Boxing Club, in which I was involved for many years in campaigning for them, in a disadvantaged area, finally opened their clubhouse this week. But it was a 20-year fight. They've got an Olympian this year, Jack Marley. They have fantastic people, Robin O'Reilly, young woman, competing at European, international level, and many, many others. This is fantastic, right? Young girls, women, men, but for years, in totally inadequate facilities, no showers, and so on, right? And they had to fight for 20 years. I'm glad the council eventually got on board, and it's a huge victory, and it shows the potential that exists. But then I look at Sallynoggin Pierce in my area. This is the club that Paul McGrath, the legendary Paul McGrath, began his career playing for. They have been fighting for almost as long, near enough 20 years, for a new facility. They were promised by the council that they would, on giving up an old shack they had and a pitch for a public park, that they would get a facility, and now they're being given the runaround, and they are partnering, they're a senior team who've been around since, I think, the 50s in Sallynoggin, who are partnering with Granada, which is a junior team, but with particularly loads of young women, right? And they've got a proposal for a new clubhouse, and to be honest, the council are giving them the runaround. They've been promised. They're willing to raise money themselves and so on, but there seems to be control freakery and a sort of negative attitude. St. Joseph Boys, who I used to play for myself, also in Sallynoggin, fighting for an all-weather pitch, again, getting the runaround over it. Coola, one of the most successful GAs, struggling for pitches. Dalkey United, struggling for pitches and facilities. Teams in Shankill, Cabinteely GA, in inadequate facilities for their club, Shankill FC, and so on. So what I'm appealing for the Minister is to really give an instruction for local authorities to positively engage with the clubs and not have a controlling attitude or a sort of dismissive attitude in terms of the provision of these vital facilities for youth participation in sport.
Thank you, Deputy Boyd Barrett.